Hello, I'm Heiko again. This is the follow-up video to the one called How Can Subjectivity Come About, where I presented the self-model theory of subjectivity. First, I have to apologize. When I wrote under the video, "You are a data structure," that's a bit facetious, because the term "you" or "I" in my case refers to the whole person, that is, the whole organism, with all its social roles and all its competencies and all its abilities. And when the sentence that I wrote under my video, "You are a data structure," the term "you" refers only to the self-model, which is only a very temporal part of you. So if I go to work, not my self-model goes to work. No, of course, the whole person, that is, the organism, goes to work. So there's a bit confusion. I don't want to open the door to relativism or something else. No, you are more than just your self-model, of course. Normally you don't have to differentiate between self-model and the organism, because the self-model is so accurate and so, for pragmatic purposes, so efficient and so fast and so realistic that you don't need to differentiate the self-model from the organism that it refers to. But in complicated and extreme situations, it might be necessary to do so. And I want to discuss one extreme situation in order to get to an answer to the questions: is there a soul, and is there a life after death? And I want to pick an example where people come to believe that there is a soul and that there is a life after death. And that is in modern times. I mean, philosophers did this before with their introspection, like Descartes. But in modern times, more is known about out-of-body experiences. Out-of-body experiences often occur in combination with near-death experiences. Maybe if a surgery is going on and some medical problem arises and the person is anesthetized, then the person might experience themselves floating above the operation table and watching the medical staff fighting for their life, the life of their body. And because there is no no input from the body into the brain creates a self-model without a body. And so that explains how people can experience themselves as just consciousness without a body, floating in this medical room and watching the scene, hearing the voices, smelling the smells, and just being free of any bodily constraints. Some people even leave the room and watch the hospital from above. And when they come back, they are very convinced that they are a soul trapped in a body, and that if the body dies, they will live on as a soul, maybe in a heavenly sphere where love and light is present, and they can communicate with other souls just by will. And it's understandable that these people believe in this, because the experience is so profound and it may be even life-altering, and it's very hard to criticize this experience, because, I mean, it's what I experienced. And in this situation, it's important to know that there is a self-model that the brain generates, and that there's an organism to which the self-model refers. And if you see that between self-model and self, there are certain interventions that are unusual, like an anesthesia, then of course it's understandable that the self-model gets distorted. And so one has to come to the conclusion that these out-of-body experiences are deceptions. They are very holistic deceptions, more than just a visual illusion, but they are deceptions. And so, coming from this framework, where it's clear that the brain produces models of reality and also models of the organism it belongs to, it is clear that there can be no life after death, because if the body ceases to function, the brain ceases to function, there can be no creation of a self-model anymore. And so that what we could refer to as a soul, that what we experience, is of course not existent anymore, like in sleep or like in coma. And of course then there can be no life after death, and then there can be no soul independent of a body, or no experiencing, no consciousness without a body. So this is my quick answer. I think that's pretty obvious, but I think it's interesting to think about these out-of-body experiences. And I hope you liked it, and let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. The next video is coming soon.